Hello, this is Armando from Xert. And in this video, we're going to introduce you to a new app that we just released on the Garmin App Store, and it's called the Xert Segment Hunter. And you'll never believe what it does. It actually helps you hunt segments. So it's a power-based pacing tool that will help you reach your personal bests or your best times on segments. It uses your Xert profile to pace you to achieve your best on a particular segment or on a time trial. So if the segment if the Garmin segment is configured to be, if the time trial is configured to be a Garmin segment, you'll be able to use them on time trials as well. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to give you an explanation in terms of how to install it on your Garmin. We're going to give you a demonstration on how to use the app, and we're going to explain a little bit in terms of how it functions. Okay, so here is the page on the Garmin App Store for the Segment Hunter. Of course, you can always go here and just type in Xert Segment Hunter, and that's the one way to kind of locate the app. And away you go. You can then click on it, and then it'll bring you to this page, right? So that's the one way to find it. You can click on download from here, ask you to log in, and then choose your device. I'm going to install it on my 1030. If you have more than one, you can confirm. There's a little note to indicate that there's GPS and it runs in the background. This will detect your segments for you. So it's very similar to the Strava Life segments. The Segment Hunter will continuously be monitoring for any kind of segments that are in the area. So it needs GPS information for that. All right, so there you have it. You can go ahead and then select that, open up Garmin Express. Here we have our 1030, and we can move through our apps, and you'll see that from here we have it installed. So once it's installed, the only thing you need to do at this point is configure your username and password. Now, the reason why you need a username and password is because it needs to log into the server in order to obtain your Xert fitness signature. So the Xert fitness signature is what is used in the app to help you pace the app optimally based on power. All right, so there we have it. We've now configured the app. We're not going to get into the specifics of how to configure the data field on your Garmin activity profile. So we just want to mention here that this is a data field. You can run this alongside any other fields that you have in your activity profile. So if you're showing power and cadence and heart rate, what have you, it can be shown alongside that. We call that the cell view or the field view. So you can install it as one of 7 fields in your field view, or you can set it up in its own dedicated display. We call that full screen display. That's the way that we would recommend you use it. You're going to see examples of how to implement it and how to use it in full screen display. When in full screen display, the app will take over the entire screen and will show you pacing information on that. One thing to note here, very important, is that if you're on a wearable or if you're on a 130 or a 520, the full screen display is going to be a little bit constrained in terms of what it can show you. And the reason being is that the memory limitations on those apps isn't sufficient for us to kind of do everything we want to do within the app. Unfortunately, we tried to fit it all into the 520 and into the 130, but unfortunately you are going to see some limitations in the full screen view only. So I recommend if you're on a 520, 130, run it in the multiple field display screen. So where you have 4 or 5 fields on display, show the Segment Hunter app in one of the fields, and then of course you might want to show power or even another Connect IQ Xert field like MPA and power, for example, would work really well together with the Segment Hunter field. So that's how you would set it up. Once you have it set up on your Garmin, then you want to configure the segments. So to configure the segments, you'd want to first log into your Garmin account, or into your Xert account. So here I've logged in, and what we've done is we've introduced a new menu option specifically to help you configure the segments that are going to appear on your Garmin. So to do that, you would go into the sync menu. There's a new menu option called segments, and you would click on that, and that it would open up the segments that you have on your Garmin. Now, at the moment, we don't have any configured, so what we're going to do is show you how you're going to configure those segments. These segments are based upon your starred segments in Strava. So if you're familiar with Strava Live segments, as soon as you star a segment, it gets dumped onto your Garmin device. What we've done is we created another step where you can star your segments, but based upon the starred segments, you can choose which ones you want to actually show and be synced up with the Segment Hunter app. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing you want to do is ensure you have some starred segments. So you may already have some. If you don't, you'd want to go to your Strava page, and then you would go ahead and start, whatever method you would want to use, you'd go ahead and start starring some various segments, for example. So here I'm going to star, let's say, about a handful here. There is some limitation in the app in terms of how many you can install. So when you install these on the app, so I'll show you this in a sec here. Let's move over. So now that we start a few here, we can go ahead and click on the Load My Starred Strava Segments button. That's going to go ahead and pull in all those ones that I've just starred. So you can see here, there's one the first one I chose called Edenbridge Loop. It brings in my personal record, the COM, the distance, and the average grade. Okay, and it's done that for all of the segments that I just clicked on a second ago. All right. Now, our apps, the Segment Hunter app, because of the memory limitation that exists on these apps, we're not allowed to really, allow you to use all of your segments. So we've kind of constrained it down to 5. So that's the only drag, is you're gonna have to pick and choose, which segments you really want to hunt. It's probably not a bad idea. So beforehand, before you go out on your ride, say, here are the 5 segments I'm going to try and hunt today. So you would go in here and say, aha, I'm going to do this one, and I want to do this one, and I want to do this one, and I want to do this one. So there's 4 here that we've selected. We click on the Sync to My Garmin. That's the method that they get dumped onto the Garmin. And then, if I choose more than 5, you'll see what will happen. It says I can't choose more than 5. So that's the kind of, unfortunate limitation that we have. We've only given you access to 5 segments. But let's go back to, let's say, the Edenbridge Loop. You can see here that we have a target time and pacing information. These are kind of really important concepts to understand when it comes to the Segment Hunter. So let's get into the target time. What it's done here is defaulted your target time to your PR best time. So the target time is what's going to appear on the app as far as what you're trying to achieve during that segment. You can change this. There's a little pencil icon here. You can change it to say, well, let's say I want to get to 4:49 or 4:49. Type that incorrectly here. And you can see there that we've now changed it. So this is going to appear on our Garmin as 4:49 as our target time. Now, one thing that needs to be recognized, and it's a really important point here, is that the target time that appears on your Garmin isn't going to be what the algorithm is going to trying to get you to achieve. It's not. It's not going to say I'm going to get you to achieve 5 minutes and 49 seconds. Rather, it does something a little bit more sophisticated and more valuable. It'll pace you to a 5 minute and 49 time, but as you perform it, it will adjust that based upon how you perform. So for example, if it's 5 minutes and 49 and it's purely downwind, it's not going to slow you down. The app's not going to do that. It's going to speed you up, actually, and it's going to make sure that you get your best time for that particular segment. So this is a really important thing to note, that the app's not trying to pace you for this time, it's actually trying to pace you to do your best time. It's just going to use this number as a way to start the process of it, estimating the amount of power, and then second by second, it's going to adjust that based upon how you perform. Most unique thing about this software is its dynamic nature. Okay, so read up on our blog. We just wrote a blog on this to help you understand how this dynamic power automatic adjusting feature works. It's really important, and it's really the reason why the app is so cool and so valuable, is that it's going to continuously adjust your power to help you not just achieve your target time, but achieve your best time that you can over that segment. Okay, so that's target time. The other important information here is what we call breakthrough on the line. So you can choose whether you want a hard breakthrough on the line or whether you just want it to be kind of tough. All right, there's a distinction here. This hard breakthrough on the line is something that I think most people who have done time trials or try to do segments already understand. What that means is that when you cross the finish line of your segment, you want to be totally spent. You don't want to have something left in reserve. If you have something left in reserve, then it wasn't your best effort. You left something in the tank. So you want to totally expend everything you can possibly perform and do right until the very finish line. All right, that's what we call breakthrough on the line. If you're an Xert user, you already understand the notion of what a breakthrough is. That's when your maximal power available and your power meet in terms of that's as hard as you can go. So what the Segment Hunter does is that it will pace you such that that moment when you're your absolute limit occurs just as you cross the finish line. Right? It's a really powerful concept. It's something that you ultimately want to try and achieve. That's the perfect pacing, is when you're totally expended just as you pass the finish line. That's what this app is going to try and get you to do. Right? So it's really cool in that respect. That's when you choose this hard breakthrough on the line. If you happen to choose tough, it's going to be a little easier. You're not going to get the breakthrough on the line. It's not going to be easy by any means, but it's going to be a lot easier for you to pace. So if you're kind of doing these in the middle of a ride, or you're doing these to practice, or you're doing these to just sort of see how things work, go ahead and choose tough. But if you really want to push yourself to the limit, by definition, to the limit, right on the line, then go ahead and choose hard breakthrough on the line. And do recognize that that's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to be at your absolute best to achieve this. And the software, the algorithm is going to pace you to be at your absolute best. So if you're slightly fatigued or what have you, you didn't get enough sleep, anything like that, you're going to have a hard time reaching the targets that are going to be given to you by the app. But if you're ready to go, just follow, and it'll pace you to be at your absolute limit. Really cool that way. All right. So just to note on that, that's a really important point here as to how the app will pace you. So once you've gone ahead and clicked on the segments that you wish to sync, you can now go ahead, start your Garmin app. Now that you have your username and password, it's going to pull these segments onto the Garmin, and it's going to automatically detect them when they appear, when you reach those segments. So to show you how this works, we got a couple of examples. So one example is actually this Birmingham sprint, right? We're going to show you this. It's just over a minute. We're going to show you what it looks like to attempt this particular segment, what it's going to look like on your screen. Okay, let's go ahead and bring that up. So Here is the screen that you would see. This is on a 1030. This is the screen that you would see when you first bring up the app, okay? It's on a dedicated display. It's got its own screen. This is on a one field display screen in the activity profile, what we would recommend. So you bring up the app, you'll see the version number, you'll see waiting to start, and then you can go ahead and start recording. So I'm just going to start this video to show you what it looks like. It's a simulation. It's going to go ahead and fetch those segments, and once those segments are completed, obtained, then you'll see a screen showing you all, oh, let's go back here. You'll see a screen here showing you all the segments that have been obtained from the server. So you can see these are the ones that we have selected: Edenbridge Loop, Birmingham Sprint, what have you. It's obtained those segments, it's giving you those targets, and now you're simply riding. So if you open up another activity profile, or another screen, for example, you're going to just be able to ride. So you're going to be on your group ride and your race or what have you, and you're just going to ride as normal. When you move to the screen, once you get close to one of the segments that's listed here, this segment is going to switch. It's going to move from prowling to stalking, as we say. So it's like it's a hunting metaphor. Prowling means you're just kind of running, you're kind of riding around. Stalking means you found your target, you're going to start to go for it. So that's what happens here. It moves from prowling over into stalking as soon as it appears, right? So now you can see here that the Birmingham Sprint is within 242 meters. So we're approaching it. We're getting closer and closer. Our target time, our distance is here. And as we approach, we'll get a countdown. There it is there. 5, 3, 2, 1, 0. So let's just pause it here for a sec. Here's our target. We start off this segment, it gives us a target of 590 watts. What the algorithm has done, it says you have 1 minute and 9 seconds for this interval, for this segment. The best power you can produce for 1 minute and 9 seconds is 590 watts. Okay, got that? And I'm currently producing the athlete's producing 533 watts. Distance left is just under 1 kilometer, 863 meters. And we have BT here indicating this is a breakthrough on the line. We're going to give it everything we got, okay, to do this. Here's an actual pacer. It shows you the completion. And we have colors here that are very important. All right, we have green. Green indicates that it's the center. It means that we're on target. So here we're blue, which is below target. You can see that we're 533 watts. We're below the target. Target is 590. So we're blue. If we're really too far low, we're going to be gray. If we're just above the target, we're going to be purple. And if we're too far above the target, we're going to be red. So that's what the colors mean. And at times, this is important to note, at times, it's going to make sense to be in the blue or the purple. The reason is you might be climbing a hill, you might be into the wind, and it just might be a temporary thing. You may want to be pushing out some more wattage. So purple and blue are okay, so long as they're used in the appropriate, times during the segment or the time trial, right? So if you're into the wind up a hill, yeah, go purple, good idea. Push out some more wattage. You're going down a hill, you're going downwind, it's okay to be blue. All right, just so you know, that's kind of the reasoning behind those additional colors. All right, so let's go ahead and watch this particular segment in action here. So here we are, we're now in green. We're pretty close to our target. You can see these numbers that are just now slightly above. We're purple. All right, so let's watch it through. You can see the timer happening here. What you'll notice though, which is really interesting, as you go above the target, right, the target will start to decline. So if you spend too much time above the target, like you see here, it goes from 584, it starts to actually decline. If you go below the target goes back up again. So that's what the Segment Hunter does. It knows if you're below or if you're above, and it's going to adjust the target based upon what it believes to be your absolute maximum. In this case, this was after about a 2 or 3 hour ride. So we did this for an example. We weren't able to sustain the power, unfortunately. You can see here that we're starting to drop off near the end. It was quite difficult. However, what was really cool is that we still were able to beat our target time. So the latest time was 1:09 and the target time was 1:11. So that proved to be really great in terms of that, even though we weren't able to achieve these precise targets that were given in the player, we were still able to beat our target time. So the pacing worked quite well for us. The next example, let's see if we can bring that up. Next example, we're going to show you, actually, where was it here? We're going to bring up another video. Let me just pause this for a second and give it a little bit of background. So you're going to see here a little bit more information. We have two riders that are using the app. We have the sort of first-person view here, which is Peter. And Peter's power is on the screen. And Peter's Segment Hunter is over here on the watch on the right. So everything down below in this view is from Peter. And this information up here is yours truly. This is me. This is my Segment Hunter, Pine Valley Climb. This is Peter's camera pointing backwards, which for the most part is going to be pointing back at me, but not always, but you'll see me in the picture here. And then what we've added here is a little simulation of our MPA app. And the reason why we added this in is because it's kind of cool to watch what happens to MPA during an attempt at a segment. Okay, now what's most notable about this particular segment, it's called Pine Valley Climb. Really popular amongst the group ride that we do. Really difficult. It's one of those segments that everyone gives it everything they have. You're totally spent by the time you reach the final stop sign, and it's a place where the fast people finish first, the slower people finish a little bit behind, but it's the place where we all agree where we're gonna kind of meet up in the end. So it's kind of a convenient spot or it's a convenient segment for us to all give it everything we got and then manage to connect up after at the final stop sign. It's about a 9-minute here target time for me. I think for Peter it's just a little bit less than that. So yeah, it's a 9-minute effort, but we're not going to do it just flat out. Thanks 9 minutes this video. We're actually going to do it in a variable. It's a group ride. Sometimes you're drafting, sometimes you're not. You're going to see how the dynamics of the group work are going to affect the target times target power associated with this particular segment. Okay, so let's go ahead and watch that. All right, so you can see here that we're just about to start the segment. We're about 100 meters away from the start of the segment, kind of easing up into speed here, and there you go. You both get a countdown, right, letting you know where your target power is. You can see that my target power of 341 is much lower than Peter's. Peter's a much stronger cyclist than I am. I can't certainly sustain the kind of power that he does. But we both have our own, our own individual target times and personal records that we're trying to beat. So I'll never beat Peter, but I can certainly beat my best time. And so I'm here to see how well I can do relative to my previous efforts and see how well I can pace this particular segment. So you can see here we're downhill. There's some uphills. You'll see what happens. Downhill, I'm in the gray. My power is low. My target increases, right? As I start to power up, back up the hill, right? You can see my power starts to go up above my target, 436, 461. And when I do that and I hold that power, my target starts to decline. So the Segment Hunter automatically adjusts the target power based upon how I perform, right? I go out too hard, it reduces the target. I go out too easy, it increases the target, right? So this is Peter's view. You can see that, you know, we're all just sort of just warming up here into this really, really tough segment that we know we're all going to have to be subjected to. It's fun because we all know what's in store during these next 10 minutes, right? It's all out effort for pretty much everybody involved, right? I've got 7 minutes left. He's got just a little bit less. You can see his power is still staying high, his target power. Mine is still about the same in terms of my difference. You can see that my MPA is starting to come down. That's me there in the picture. You can see here, I'm just, you know, I know if I can just hang on to Peter's wheel as long as I possibly can, I'm probably going to get a really good time, and I'm going to do really well for myself if I'm able to hang on to Peter. You can see my MPA is now starting to creep quite low, down below, getting pretty close to 1,000 here. And that's because my power is higher than it should be. I'm using up more of my reserves in order just to hang on to Peter's wheel here. So let's, you know, fast forward a little bit here to show you, you know, we don't want to spend the whole time watching us pedal here, but it's great, and you'll see Peter start to make a move, start to move in closer. I stay in as close as I can to Peter during this time. You can see my MPA hover around the 1,000 watt level, and here I am behind Peter, just trying to hang on, and just hanging on to his wheel, right? Based upon the power he's doing, my MPA continues to decline. I can't sustain his wheel forever, all right? Because my MPA, just to hang on to his wheel, is going to continue to decline. You can see it here all the way down to 650, right? And now it's a little bit slower now that I'm getting a little bit more draft from Ellie in front, who's in front of Peter. And here you see my numbers. My MPA starting to creep up a little bit. My target is still pretty much the same as it was from the beginning. That's because I've only got 2 minutes left. So I've got 2 minutes at 363. But what's happened is Peter has taken off. So he's trying to break from the group. He's only managed to keep two guys, Brian and Ellie, are actually able to hang on to Peter's wheel. I'm dropped. So I'm back here. You can't see it. I'm behind Brian here. And what I decided to do is, let's see if I can maintain my target for the remainder of the minute 35. So I've got a minute and 30 left. Let's see if I can sustain my target power for the remainder of that minute. So that's what you're going to see. My tactic here is just to hang on for dear life, draw this MPA down as slowly as I can during the remainder of the particular segment. And you can see Peter here is trying to do his best as well. He's got 391 watts left until the end, just hanging on, see if he can sustain that until the remainder, which is about just under a minute. So he too has been, you know, his MPA has come down, only giving him much less wattage until the very end of this segment. So you'll notice here is that Peter is going to finish the segment. It's going to be a little bit of a sprint at the very, very end. And he's just going to basically do his best to sustain his power until the end, which is a stop sign, which is coming up right up around here. So pretty soon you'll see a move. Ellie will try and come around, and Peter's just basically hanging on here, right? 360 watts, pushing out 400, 500 watts. Yeah, and here we go. So it's just, he's running out, right? His power is running out, 126, kind of gives up at this point now that Ellie has passed, and he's pretty much done. I'm still here trying to hang on to whatever power I have left, 350 watts. My MPA down to 400 watts. I'm, you know, barely hanging on. So I'm giving it everything I got right till the very end. And in fact, I hung on long enough to get the breakthrough. This is the breakthrough on the line. So you're going to see me here. There I am right there, just finishing. And that's my time, 9:29 at, 9:41 with my best at 9:29. So I wasn't able to beat my best time, but I, certainly gave it everything I had, right? Yeah, and there you have it. That's how these segments get played out in real life using this particular app. All right, so getting back to the interface, we can show you a little bit of the MPA. We'll maybe do that in another video, but we just want to show you kind of how this app works, how to get it configured, how to set it up on your Garmin, how to use it, how to use the colors, and kind of get you a feel for what the app's going to give you during the course of a particular segment. Always continuously adjusting based upon what you had done previously. So with that, I thank you so much for watching this video, and look forward to you joining us at Xert, and happy hunting. Thank you.